Welcome to the Just Word Podcast. I'm Pat Bolland. The Just Word Podcast is brought to you by Justwealth, investing the way it should be, just for you.
Real estate has been a very interesting asset of late. It goes up, it goes down, but where is it currently? Ramona King is the Group Editor Canada for Finder, which is a financial comparison site. And she'll join me right after this word from our sponsor. Ramona, great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here, Pat.
Okay, pandemic comes in, real estate market, offices are empty. People are going to cottages to work from there. Give me a current state of real estate in your mind in Canada.
I think the current state of real estate is that we're once again going through a reckoning. So when I say reckoning, I mean, by all standards, we should have seen a drop in prices. We know that. Everyone has said as soon as interest rates go up, we're going to see a massive drop in prices. Oh my gosh, the crash is coming. We've predicted this for not 10 years now, but 15 years. We've had people predicting for a crash, and it hasn't happened. And I think that what we are seeing is that real estate is not just a financial decision, but an emotional decision. And that really was, it was very prominent during the pandemic. We began to see why people rushed to the real estate market during the pandemic. Those that had, they got in for security. Those that didn't felt the pinch. And so I think the state of real estate right now is we have undersupply. It is a commodity as well as a necessity. It's a very befuddled state in real estate, and yet it is still a large contributor to the GDP. In a short word, then, it's a mess.
Okay. And the thing that seems to be capturing headlines of late has been cottage country. In some cases, in Ontario, for instance, they've dropped as much as 60%, but we're seeing that in British Columbia and other areas. That's because, I guess, people are no longer working from their cottages. Is that right?
They're no longer working from their cottages. They no longer want the distance from people. Remember the COVID pandemic, we wanted isolated ways to be able to actually socialize with those that we knew and not with those that we didn't know. And so now we've got I don't want to work from Kelowna because everything I have infrastructure wise is in Vancouver. I don't want to work from Muskoka because it's a couple of hour drive to Toronto, and I have that coffee meeting, I have that lunch meeting, that client meeting is there. So we begin to realize that even if the office space wasn't as critical, the access to infrastructure was. And so, yes, cottage prices are coming down, but there was also another play there. It was the idea that, the live work life balance was going to be different because of COVID. Well, COVID restrictions have lifted, and the live work balance, well, it's kind of shifted back to the pretty standard, which is a 40-hour work week. We put food on the table. Hey, we actually have to work. We can't just sit and make bread. So all of these reasons, and it escalated quickly because there was a huge rush, and it de-escalates quickly because all of a sudden people are like, oh, I got to get my money out. I paid too much for this. Got to get my money out. And we have fewer people buying. So this is why you see these massive swings in what I would consider the non-necessary housing.
Ramona, you don't know this, but I actually make a really mean loaf of bread now. Just saying.
I'm saying I want a piece. You're going to have to send me a piece.
Okay, you started off, though, by making an interesting comment on interest rates. And interest rates have gyrated significantly in the mortgage area because they were, in some cases, well less than 2%. And now you're looking 5, 6, 7% on interest rates. Classically, prices would go down. But we're not really seeing that in maybe not cottage country, but in more traditional real estate houses, for instance.
Yeah. And I think that, we did see that blip. We did see a slowing in sales activity. We did see some, pressure downwards on pricing for a moment. Then the spring market came, and as all financial lenders do, they become competitive. They lower their rates as much as they possibly can to get that new client in. Because traditionally, once you're in, you rarely ever leave, and they know that. And they're like, okay, good. Once you're in, we're good. We've got you on our book of business. But then rates went up again. And that's independent of the Bank of Canada raising their rates and incrementally making the variable rate mortgage, which was a darling for about 5 years, all of a sudden it wasn't of interest and people didn't want that. So why are prices not going down? Because we have a lot of different factors. One, we saw in the pandemic that people still spent and others were really poorly, like really badly impacted. And the people that still spent, they still bought houses, still bought cottages, still went on vacations, still, when I say vacations, isolated cottage country vacations, those people were the ones with secure employment. And the people that were really badly impacted by pandemic were the contract workers, the service industry, the people that maybe don't earn as much, don't have high job security. So why do I mention this? Because we also know that housing is directly impacted by employment. The more secure people are in their employment, the more they want to set down roots and buy that security, buy that house. So those with those with the job security are still buying homes. And now we've opened up our floodgate, which we should. We've opened up our floodgates to immigrants coming because we need the immigrants to be able to actually feed the housing, not the housing market, sorry, the job market. We have jobs that we need filled, skilled labor that we need filled. We need people to come in and fill those jobs so the economy can keep growing. But they also need housing. And so they put pressure on the rental markets. Rental prices go up. Renters that are already in go, well, I got to get in. So they buy, even though prices have gone up. So you see all these, pressures to keep the pricing up. And what we're beginning to realize is that the intersection of investors that came in during the, not even pandemic, but in 2008, 2009 credit crunch and interest rates dropped, they needed a place to put their money. So they ran into the real estate market. Those people may be exiting, but we have an influx of people coming in that actually need housing for not investment purposes, but for living purposes.
So jobs and immigration play into the demand side of the equation. What about supply? Like, isn't there a whole raft of baby boomers that are saying, you know what, I'm retiring, or I got out during the pandemic, I'm out of this marketplace? Are they just holding back?
I think in part they're holding back. There's many more facilities or opportunities to age in place. I'm going through that right now with my aging parents. But there's also this idea of, well, I have this house on a 1 acre lot, which you and I both know is a luxury, even if it's a bungalow that hasn't been touched since the 1980s. And so I have this house on a 1 acre lot, and it's super expensive. And for anyone buying it, they have to put a lot of money in to upgrade the house. So it becomes almost priced out of the market. And so the person sitting in the home says, well, I want to get the most, but I know I can't sell it for that because I put it on the market and it won't sell. And so I have to sort of wait. And you have to wait for people that have a vision and deep pockets to come in and say, I'll buy this row of houses on these 1 acre lots. Zoning is in my favor now. I'm going to tear them down. I'm going to build multifamily units. And that's how. And so until all of those factors align, you just don't have the supply, particularly in the dense municipal markets.
Interesting. So suppose I'm a newlywed couple, a new investor to real estate, if you will, or moving into real estate. Should I, at this point, do you think, and this is strictly your opinion, so I won't hold you to it, should I rent or should I buy?
Oh, I love this question because I have the best answer for it. It depends. And I know nobody wants to hear that. But it really does depend. And I've said this about my own, personal financial decisions. When family phoned me up and said, I don't know if we should buy this house, maybe we should wait. And the first thing I said to them is it in your budget? Have you made a plan? Is it within your price range? Are you overextending? If all of those things, there's like, yes, buy it. Don't wait for a year from now because that's speculation. And if you're buying a home on speculation, you are playing a very dicey financial game because, hey, I've talked to experts in the currency market. And even though they're experts, they still say 40% of their decisions go south. So if they're experts in the currency market on a speculative asset, I don't want to be a speculator in an asset that is very expensive, that I have to live, put my head under and actually worry about the future. I want to do things based on my financial position. And so if everything lines up now, I would say to someone, then buy what's in your budget now. If you don't like what's in your budget and you want to wait, that's a different story. And like versus, oh, I want to buy my forever home versus, oh, hey, all of this meets the boxes, but I don't like the way it looks on the curb. Those are two different likes, or I want a big 4-bedroom house, but it's only 2 of us in the house. We're planning on having kids. I would say buy what's within your means now, if it's within your budget and if that's in your goals. But if you're speculating, if you're thinking maybe I'll get married, maybe I'll have kids, maybe I'll buy that 4-bedroom house way out in the boondocks because maybe I'll need it. I think that's a lot of speculation and you really have to consider your decisions.
What I'm hearing is get in the game if it's essential. if you need that roof over your head, get in the game now. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, if it's part of your financial plan. And so I go back to this answer. The real answer is, what is your financial plan? Is now the right time to buy? What is your financial plan? Are you in a stable job that you can anticipate being in for the next 5 years? Are you in a relationship that you anticipate being in for the next 5 years? I know no one predicts divorce, but all of these things. Are you planning to have a baby very soon, or very large dogs, or massive cats? I mean, these are all considerations that you want to and based on those considerations is part of your plan. And everyone wants to be spontaneous, but hey, let's not be spontaneous about the largest asset in our portfolio. Let's have a bit of planning around it, right?
Excellent point. Okay, let's go to the other end of the spectrum, because I have an asset that's worth quite a bit. I'd love your thoughts on reverse mortgages, borrowing against that asset, basically.
I'm all for borrowing against the asset. I'm not crazy about reverse mortgages. I'm not against them either. There's a number of reasons there. I think there are many different ways to borrow against an asset. Reverse mortgages is one of them. And reverse mortgages came in because it satisfied a need. Individuals that didn't have any income, that really probably only had one real asset of value, which is their home, and they needed some liquid cash. And so you enter into these agreements, and they're beneficial in that you get cash, but you don't really get the best bang for your buck on those. I mean, that's probably the shortest way to put it. But there are different things you can do. If you know that you're going to need cash in retirement, and you can plan ahead, big planner ahead. I'm not always good at it, but I'm a big, advocate of it. It's a good idea to get a line of credit against that mortgage, that house, and then you have that line of credit that can use in emergencies or fund your retirement. And then, if and when you need to vacate that home and you sell the asset, it pays off that line of credit, and you're okay, right? So I am for borrowing against a home for retirement if it's absolutely necessary. Of course, if you don't have to, if you can save for your retirement, liquidate your retirement assets as needed. So, withdraw from your RSPs or your TFSAs, depending on your income tax bracket. That's probably a better means. I would definitely say that if you're in a position where you're not sure and you think that a line of credit may, or some money from the equity of your home may be necessary, apply for it sooner rather than later. That's always don't wait for the last minute when you have fewer options. Do it now and don't use it. That's my suggestion. Do it now, don't use it. Make it really hard to access those funds. You have to make a couple of steps on the computer, or you have to call your son or your daughter over to help you do the transfer. That's good, because it's that pause before you immediately go and spend, right?
Okay. Talk about other areas of real estate. And I'm talking office towers, for instance, which are still fairly empty. Go downtown Toronto or Vancouver, and it's like a ghost town in some times of the day. And commercial real estate apparently is still doing extremely well. Is this a good time to invest in real estate generally? And how would you do that? Would you use real estate investment trusts or something along those lines?
So, I mean, I'm going to be very upfront. I invest in real estate trust funds. Some of them are in commercial. So I just want to put that out there. I actually think REITs are great. I think they're great because they're exactly like an ETF. It's a basket of holdings in an area that you should be familiar with. If you don't understand storage, don't invest in storage facilities. If you don't understand industrial, I would say probably don't do that, or anticipate losses if you don't know how the market moves. But I think real estate investment trusts are a good investment for people that want more exposure. Now, I'm going to have a caveat here. More exposure. Your house is a large part of your portfolio. You need more exposure. And I've already said I'm already investing in real estate trusts. So I look for areas that aren't the same as residential. I'm not going to be investing in, well, that's not entirely true. I do have those REITs as well, but I may not look at REITs that have residential components. Why? Because I'm in a residence. Maybe I want to look at REITs that hold residential components in different cities, because I'm very, very geographically, tied to one area, which is in Vancouver here. So I might want to look at REITs in Toronto, so that when the market moves different, because they do move differently, when the market moves different, I can capture those gains and hopefully minimize those losses. I still think that REITs have a place in the portfolio. I don't think that they should be a core in your portfolio. I don't think you should have 50% of your assets in REITs, but I do think they're still a great alternative to fixed income. And so I really sort of look at them as being a fixed income play. If you're not crazy about the bond market, if you're not crazy about GICs, which really you need to take a second look at those right now if you weren't crazy about them before. But if you're not, REITs are a good option.
Ramona, Great discussion. Thank you. I wish you much luck with your REIT investments too.
Thank you.
Ramona King is the group editor of Canada for Finder.